Okay. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing well. It's quite cloudy here. Hopefully, there won't be any storm or anything like this. We should have a relatively quick stream. I don't have that many articles. We have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 articles. Should be done within like 2 or 3 hours. Then maybe we're gonna play Dark Souls. It's gonna depend if how the weather develops and how my mood is going to be. We done some progress in Dark Souls yesterday. I still have to upload the VOD. I have not done it yet, but we still have time for that. So let us head to the intro then, to the obligatory reminder. YouTube channel, what's channel here, you know it. It's only 4 days left before I'm gonna make my ultimate decision on whether I want to keep doing this stuff or not. At the moment, YouTube algorithm is not really helping me much, so I'm definitely leaning more towards I'm gonna stop doing this. We'll see. It's still, still like 3 or 4 days. A lot of things can happen in the meantime. And I mean, I think my last stream is going to be, I believe, on 31st. Maybe I'm gonna keep going a little bit into the August. We'll see just what kind of news is out there. And once I'm gonna run out of stuff, then I'm gonna make the goodbye video. I'm not quite sure how I should grasp it. Maybe I'm just gonna install Oblivion and install Oblivion and just do something funny. Yeah, just some funny goodbye. And something just hits the NPC and he flies 10 meters in the air or something like this. But yeah, I mean, we made 140 videos, which is pretty good. Another video is going to release in like 8 hours from now. We've just released that Donald Trump wants to debate Kamala Harris. It's a bit of a old news at this point, I know. However, yeah, I still wanted to include it. It's probably not gonna get any traction like the Netanyahu video. Like the Netanyahu video got some traction, a little bit from the YouTube algorithm. However, it seems YouTube does not really want to push it much forward, so that's unfortunate. Without further ado though, I think we can head into the articles then. Yes. I don't really have anything else to talk about besides this. Oh yeah, we have 33 videos, so that's nice. We've been streaming for about 35 times. I have not uploaded, I believe, 2 stream bots. So yeah, you should keep that in mind. However, I upload most of them as long as they have some value. Like if it's not like 1 topic or 2 topics, like when Biden's step down or when the Dr. Disrespect thing happened, you should probably notice there's no video about it. I think I may do video about it. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. It's still too young to. No pun intended. No pun intended. It's still too young to actually talk about it, especially when the case allegations came out or Ava allegations. I don't really care. I mean, it's so. Yeah, I think we're gonna head into the articles and just read them. We have a bizarre article a little bit, a little bit of a bizarre article right off the bat. Olympic organizers apologize for introducing South Korea athletes as North Korea. Oh, no, 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 no. Paris AP. Olympic Games organizers said they are deeply... Olympic Games organizers say... Fuck. Olympic Games organizers said they deeply apologize for introducing South Korea's athletes as North Korea during the opening ceremony in Paris. As the South Korean athletes waved their national flag on a boat floating down the Seine River on Friday evening, they were announced in both French and English as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. South Korea is the Republic of Korea. I mean, this happens often to the Slovaks and Slovenians that they are mixed. Yeah, Slovakia and Slovenia get mixed quite a bit, so I mean, so they are like first time. We deeply apologize for the mistake that occurred when introducing the Korean team during the opening ceremony broadcast, the International Olympic Committee said in a post on Twitter in Korean. Jang Mi-ran, the second vice minister of South Korea's culture, sports and tourism minister, requesting a meeting with IOC President Thomas Bach over the incident. Over the incident, the ministry said in a statement Saturday. It said the ministry also asked South Korea's foreign ministry to file a strong government-level complaint with the French government. The statement said South Korea's Olympic Committee separately asked the organizers of the Paris Games to prevent the recurrence of similar events. IOC spokesperson Mark Adams on Saturday called the error clearly deeply regrettable. An operational mistake was made. We can only apologize in an evening of so many moving parts that this mistake was made, Adams said in a response to a questions from South Korean journalists during a news conference. The Korean peninsula has been bitterly divided into South Korea and North Korea since the end of World War II in 1945. The blue sign on the boat carrying the South Korean athletes did show the correct name. Associated Press writers Hyung Jin Kim in Seoul and Graham Dunbar in Paris contributed to this report. So accidents happened. The Slovaks and Slovenians will tell you a lot about it. And probably someone also probably misspelled Niger and Nigeria. Although he probably was not calling Nigeria Niger, but a little bit more of a English type of a word. Still, it's so funny that a lot of people do not realize that Niger was a French colony. Therefore, the name Niger comes from the French language and not from the English language. I believe there are no comments here, so we're gonna head straight to the next article. This was a quick article. We'll see about the next ones. G20 finance minister agreed to work toward effectively taxing the super rich, and I press doubt. I press X. Whenever somebody tells you they are gonna tax the rich, in most of the cases they don't. They simply don't. Or there's simply corruption involved and the rich do not pay their fair share. We're gonna have one more article about the wealth or about the super rich. We're gonna have that article like 3 or 3 articles after this one. But let's read this article right now. Rio de Janeiro, AP. Finance ministers from leading rich and developing nations agreed Friday to strive towards effectively taxing the super rich, a joint ministerial declaration said. With full respect to tax sovereignty, we will seek to engage cooperatively to ensure that ultra-high net worth individuals are effectively taxed, the declaration said after the two-day meeting in Rio de Janeiro. That is going to be quite of an arduous task, because the super rich usually store their wealth into stocks. And taxing stocks is quite difficult, because in the end you're probably gonna end up taxing everybody who holds any stocks, including the people who just want to make some money off stocks and who are not really that wealthy. So this would do it against for general population to be against this. However, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to force them to actually pay their own share, because I mean, you have people like Bezos, Musk, and many other billionaires who simply have way, way more than they should have had. Like, the wealth gap is real, and it's still widening. And it's only a matter of time before, like, if the world economy was to collapse right now, like, it is quite possible we would have a return of a serfdom or something similar to serfdom. Simply because there's a lot of stupid people who will show for the ultra-rich. We still do not understand why. I mean, there's a reason why they are called people with a lower intelligence, because I mean, like, the rich do not care about you. You are their resource. You provide them the wealth they have, they possess, those yachts, that everything is from you, is from your hard work. And you support them only because they say they value you, they respect you. Oh, nice, that's great that the welfare respects you. Oh yeah, how is that going to help you that you live from one wage to another? Brazil has made proposal to impose a 2% minimum tax on billionaires, a top priority of its presidency of the Group of 20 ahead of the November 18th-19th summit in Rio. While the final declaration stopped short of agreeing on specific global tax, Brazilian Finance Minister Fernando Haddad nevertheless called it a significant step forward. We were always optimistic about this result, but it really exceeded our initial expectation, Haddad told reporters. I mean, it's nice that they can come to an agreement in G20, however, you have to implement on the national stage, which usually is much bigger of a pain. Brazil's proposal to tax billionaires has divided G20 nations. France, Spain, and South Africa has expressed support, while the US is against. Oh, I wonder why. I wonder why the USA, the country with the most billionaires in the world, the country that is basically made out of lobbying for politicians and from the rich, assigning you the politicians you're gonna vote for, and the presidents you're gonna vote for. Yeah, I wonder why would they be against. Tax policy is very difficult to coordinate global, and we don't see a need or really think it's desirable to try to negotiate a global agreement on that. That is very bad statement. And there should be a global tax on the billionaires who operate in multiple countries. Like, they should not be, sending their taxes to only one government. Like, if they operate in a certain country, then they should pay taxes there. This goes for the tech giants, obviously, like Google, Meta, and stuff like this. I know there has been a lot of progress in the past few years. However, there is still work to be done. And especially, I mean, if you watch like the ads and stuff like that, then Google gets the ad revenue, which is then sent to the creators. And also the state should probably also get some of it. However, hey, people probably think like Google would be like go bankrupt or anything like that. They would not. It's very hard to explain, and I should probably make a research about that, but I'm kind of tired about this. I am not really that interested to learn more about Google. I already know quite a bit about Google. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen told journalists Thursday. Oh, it wouldn't be that bad to actually coordinate it. I'm just gonna do something real quick. I'll be right back. Okay. I just have to ban someone who was promoting a scam site. There we go. Governments feared the super-rich would transfer their money to tax havens if a country individually adopted such a tax, said economist Rogério Studart, a senior fellow at the Brazilian Center for International Relations think tank. That is very likely. And I believe some of these super-rich have already have their money or they pay taxes in tax havens. So there's a reason why this should be adopted global-wise and not on simply a national or like the independent national stage. Like it should be adopted on the national stage, like meaning like on the worldwide national stage. Obviously, if you adopt this in individual states and some states simply like the USA disagree, then I mean the USA do not want to implement this because they want more billionaires. They want even more wealthy people to come into the US to pay taxes there so they can potentially get out of their debts, which at the moment is looking bad. The US debt is almost $35 trillion. It is very big, very scary. That's what she said. When action is done collectively, everyone wins. When there is a fragmentation, many lose. Studart said, that is true. The richest 1% have amassed 42 trillion in new wealth over the past decade. Oh, we are going to be actually talking about that in a follow-up article from CNN. Nearly 36 times more than the entire bottom of 50% of the world population, according to an Oxfam analysis released Thursday ahead of the finance ministers' meeting. Do you think it's fair, guys? Do you think this is fair? And a lot of people will once again show that they deserve it because they've been working hard, you know. Or people like Elon Musk have been bettering the humanity and stuff like this. Yeah. Their wealth comes from you, alright? The billionaire, the ultra rich wealth comes from your hard work. It is you who make them rich. It is the scientists, the workers that make these ultra rich so goddamn rich. It is your hard work that made them reach such heights. The scientists at least get a more of a return. Because I mean, hey, they have a education, so they're gonna get a little bit of more money. However, the workers, the ones at the bottom, Oh, they do not get that much. They don't get near as much. And sometimes their work is much more stressful, much more difficult than those of a scientist. Like everybody has a certain role to play. Everybody should work in a symbiosis. And everybody should get adequately rewarded. Which at the moment is kind of failing. Most of these 50% is obviously from Africa or Asian nations. Once again, I mean, EU and North America have propelled to such heights because they exploited such countries for their resources, for their oil. God damn it, the meme about USA invading you because you have oil. Like, do you think this comes out of someone's ass? No, it does not. Europe and America had exploited those nations in past. That is why Europe and America are so goddamn ahead, because they managed to accumulate so much wealth from the exploitation of those African nations. And eventually that wealth is going to shift towards these African people, because the West is dying out. That is true. The West is not reproducing enough. Its toxic economy had caught up to them, and now, even for those who are rich compared to those at Africa and Asia, they simply cannot afford to have children, or they don't want to have children and want to focus solely on career path. And the West's economy is very toxic. It's said to be in a permanent growth. Like, the West's economy does not anticipate a sudden population stagnation or even decline. Should any of that happen, the West would immediately fall, would immediately collapse. So and here are the people from Africa and Asia who come in. Yeah, they will move in, and they will eventually become a majority in those nations. Because those people who formerly exploited them for so many of natural resources, well, they will be caught by their own toxic economy. They were not able to fix that economy. They were not able to create a new economy that would be elastic against any sort of a population decline or stagnation. And those people from Africa and Asia will finally get some sort of a, I don't want to say revenge, but they will finally get their own hands on the wealth. So yeah, this is the probable future. It will not be that easy. I think something probably very radical is going to happen, and which is going to cause a lot of casualties, most likely. Well, that's quite likely, because even now we can see the populations of different nations, different kinds of religions are getting radicalized, and this does not bode well, especially when World War III is kind of looming around. It's very sad. The billionaire currently pay the equivalent of 0.3% of their wealth in taxes, according to a report by Gabriel Zuckman, commissioned by Brazil. A 2% tax would raise $200 billion to $250 billion per year globally from about 3,000 individuals. That's a lot of money. Money that could fund public services such as education and healthcare, as well as the fight against climate change, the report said. Now I'm gonna interject my own idea. I said that the wealthy, the ultra wealthy, they should donate or invest some of their material into, not material, their wealth into public projects. Yeah, there should be a list of public projects, somewhere in the local government, and the wealthy should be able to invest into projects like new roads, new hospitals, new schools, new books, new equipment for hospitals, schools, or even some science centers. And if that sum would be filled, then the money would then get spilled to some other regions with less billionaires. And if such region would start to be a little bit behind, then those billionaires would be simply instructed to invest into that state. So they would have some sort of a equity, I guess. It's not ideal. There are still a lot of sports where it could probably be exploited. However, hey, it's an idea, and I just said it out of my head. Like, I was not thinking about this at all. And there are people who would be able to actually transform this idea into something a little bit more productive than me. Well, I could be able to transform it too if I actually thought about it for more than 2 minutes, but hey, maybe in future. Zuckman, who is founding director of the Paris-based EU Tax Observatory, celebrated the outcome of the finance ministers' meetings. For the first time in history, there is now a consensus among G20 countries that the way we tax the super-rich must be fixed. So about it. And a commitment to work together for this it's an important step in the right direction, he said in a statement. NGOs also welcomed the declaration while encouraging further action at the G20 summit in November. Extreme weather events made more likely by climate change are expected to cost trillions of dollars every year, and it is outrageous to expect that the regular taxpayer should pay for it. Camila Jardim, an international politics specialist with Greenpeace Brazil, said in a statement. Brazil has put inequality, poverty and hunger at the heart of its presidency of G20. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva defended the need for increased taxation of the world's richest in Rio on Wednesday when he unveiled plans for global alliance against hunger and poverty. Brazil is also pushing for changes in global governance institutions and advocating for a sustainable energy transition. On the sidelines of the discussion around taxation, Haddad and Elon on Friday announced the launch of climate partnership between Brazil's Ministry of Finance and the US Treasury. It will seek to address today's most pressing environmental challenges and strengthen the region's green economy, Elon said, citing efforts to bolster green energy supply chains and improve the integrity and effectiveness of the voluntary carbon market. And as I said sometimes before, invest into nuclear energy. That's the easiest way how to close those coal energy plants. That is unironically the easiest way. Build more nuclear power plants. You're gonna produce way more energy, and you're gonna be able to afford closing those coal plants, which in turn is going to produce less CO2 emissions to the atmosphere and run away green gases. It's easy as that. And this is the entire article. So yeah, I think it's important that the super rich get taxed and they distribute way more wealth into the regular human lives. As somebody who is a nerd into space exploration, I would hand out exceptions to the individuals who invest into space exploration on the conditions that there would be set of goals from them. They would have to finish in a certain amount of time. And as long as they would be able to push our humanity to greater heights in the space exploration race, then they would be absolved from such taxes. However, if they would fail, then they would be taxed. Obviously, there would be some sort of a delay before taxing them. Like, for example, let's say Elon Musk would have to launch a manned space crew to Mars in the latest date of 2035. There would be, let's say, 1 year of 1 year and let's say 1 year of extra time for him. Like if it was actually underway and he was just polishing any possible issues with such launch, because hey, sending people to Mars or other planets or even to the moon, like it has to be done very safely. Safety is number one priority, period. So there you go. As long as it's space exploration, this, in my own biased opinion, they could be exempt. Although I don't think I would exempt them though. They would also have to put out some sort of a percentage of their wealth or income into that. Alright, into the the space agency they have. Like they could not just simply invest the amount they invested up until now and expect they're gonna build their wealth forever. No, they should invest more into space exploration. It should be ordered to them. But hey, once again, those are my ideas. And somebody should or probably is able to polish them way more than I at the moment. I'm gonna take a sip of water. And we're gonna move to the next article. Okay, we can move on. We got EU reprimands France and 6 other EU countries for breaking budget rules. As you know, EU is getting quite indebted as well. It does not spell anything good, especially when the left got into the government in France, which probably would have a similar result as when right would go into the government, and if they actually are gonna try to pass all of their ideas, it will cost money, and France simply does not have that money, so they would have to lend some money. Plus, some people already moved their funds out of the France when they heard about the 90% taxation for the rich. For the people who made more than 400,000 euros a year. So yeah, people are not quite excited about that as well. The European Council on Friday launched a formal action against France, Italy, and 5 other EU countries for breaking the bloc's budget rules, kickstarting a procedure forcing them to negotiate a plan with Brussels to get their deficit levels back on track. That's going to be quite hard if they're gonna keep spending more and more money. Like they should be repaying their debts, not, increasing their deficits. And when their deficit level breaches 100% of GDP, it's going to be very hard to actually dwindle it down back below. Like once you breach that magical 100% GDP mark, then you are becoming a ticking time bomb, kind of bit. France, Italy, and 5 other EU countries were placed in a formal procedure on Friday for violating the bloc's budget rules, a step that could lead to unprecedented penalties unless they take corrective measures. Today, the Council adopted decisions establishing the existence of excessive deficits for Belgium, France, and Italy. Hungary, Malta, Poland, and Slovakia. The body represents the 27 member states, said. Known as an excessive deficit procedure, it kickstarts a process forcing a country to negotiate a plan with Brussels to get their debt or deficit levels back on track. The 7 countries had deficits, the gap between government revenue and spending above 3% of GDP, in violation of the Brooks fiscal rules. France's deficit reached 5.5% in 2023, but it appears that bringing it down would be difficult because political uncertainty following the results of a snap election that was won by a left-wing coalition demanding much higher public spending. Also, yes, they also want much more spending. Whether that would help them, well, we don't know. The EU countries with the highest deficit to GDP ratios last year were Italy 7.4%, Hungary 6.7%, Romania 6.6%, and Poland 5.1%. Well, Poland has been investing a lot into the military, into buying a lot of military stuff, weapons, rockets, airplanes. They are also building the massive Maginot Line in the eastern Poland near the borders of Belarus and Kaliningrad. So yeah, like this comes mostly from that spending, which I said the Poles are going a little bit overboard with that. And it could theoretically and quite likely indebt their children and grandchildren. And especially if the war does not come, then, well, a lot of people are going to have probably ruined lives. Which probably is going to happen regardless if US economy collapses. The council also said Romania had not taken effective action against its excessive deficit despite having a procedure opened against it in 2020 and would therefore be kept under watch. As a new next step, the countries will have to send medium-term plans by September about how they will rectify the breach. Then the EU Commission in November will deliver assessments of the plan with details on route they must take to return to fiscal health. This is the first time Brussels is rebuking EU states since the bloc suspended the rules after the 2020 coronavirus pandemic and the energy crisis triggered by Russia's war on Ukraine, as states propped up businesses and households with public money. The EU spent 2 years during the suspension to reform the budget rules to give greater leeway for investment in critical areas like defense. But 2 sacred objectives remain. A state debt must not go higher than 60% of national output, which already happened in a good portion of the states, in good portion of the nations. So this is already failed. With a public deficit of no more than 3%, and we'll see how 2024 is going to turn out, but it would seem like that this will probably not go down either. And if countries like France and Italy, well, especially France, are gonna keep spending more than they actually make, well, then it's going to start affecting the EU as well. Countries failing to remedy the situation can in theory be hit with fines of 0.1% of GDP per year until action is taken to address the violation. In practice, though, the Commission has never gone as far as levying fines, fearing it could trigger unintended political consequences and hurt a state's economy. That is also true. Like, there is a lot of Eurosceptic people out there, and they are growing in power. Like, the Commission is definitely afraid, like, if they started to actually punish those who cannot get their spending in place, that a more radical people or people against EU would rise up, and yeah, they would start to do more Brexits or version of Brexits. Relatively short article. I'm gonna wait until we know how we did in 2024. How was the spending? Also, I'm gonna watch the France situation, the France politics. It's going to be quite interesting whether the left-wing government is actually gonna go with their idea to have more spending or not. I mean, Macron is going to have to probably do some compromises with them. We'll see just how it's going to turn out. Because the left can definitely threaten another elections, even though I'm not sure they would do that actually. It is possible though, like, I don't think they don't like Macron. They don't like the RN a little bit more, that's why they actually formed that coalition to stop RN from getting in power. So they would probably try to actually cast the die one more time, and it would probably be the decisive time this time. Who would win is a question though. So we're gonna head to the next article now. We are almost halfway to our articles. We got Perseverance rover finds evidence that suggests ancient microbial life might have existed on Mars. NASA's Perseverance rover discovered leopard spots on a rock nicknamed Cheawa Falls in Mars' Jezero crater in July. I would call it Jezero, but it's America and it's English. CNN, the NASA Perseverance rover may have found a pivotal clue that centered to its mission on Mars, geological evidence that could suggest life existed on the red planet billions of years ago. The robotic explorer came across a vein-filled red rock on July 18 that appears to be scattered with leopard spots. Modeling could indicate that ancient chemical reactions occurring within the rock once supported microbial organism. These spots are a big surprise, said David Flanner, a member of the NASA Perseverance science team and an astrobiologist at the Queensland University of Technology in Australia. In a statement on Earth, these types of features in rocks are often associated with the fossilized record of microbes living in the subsurface. The research is still preliminary, and NASA scientists haven't yet confirmed how the rock was created, which would require studying it on Earth, which is not possible at the moment. But the arrowhead-shaped specimen could help the Perseverance team unlock whether Mars was once a planet hospitable to life. Probably it was, I think, if there, I mean, obviously there was a lot of activity from the volcanoes, and I don't know what, I mean, the Mars atmosphere is thin, it's very thin, and that is going to make it tough to actually terraform it, because you're gonna have suns, storms, just wiping out the atmosphere from it every once in a while. So we kind of have to find a way to thicken it. Obviously, we have to find a way to create a ozone layer there as well. There's a lot of stuff we have to do on Mars before we'll be able to actually colonize it. And maybe we should be able to, well, not should, but maybe we could look into how to make the Martian crust move, meaning like the continents on Earth move with, and the continents crust move on Earth, However, it does not move on Mars, so we should probably take a look on just how could we theoretically fix it, because hey, it's a big part of a life on Earth that the land moves around and it's kind of rotates or does not stay the same like on Mars. I think this is one of the bases to a successful life, that you have the grass moving around, obviously the water as well. Those two are probably the basics for successful creation and sustainability of life. We are absolutely thrilled to have this sample in the bag, said Bryony Horgan, co-investigator on the Perseverance rover mission and professor of planetary science at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, in an email. This rock is exactly the type of sample that we came to Mars to find, and we can't wait to get it into our labs back here on Earth, she said. This is precisely the type of potential microbial signature biosignature that was envisioned when NASA designed the Mars 2020 mission, and we've used every instrument in our payload to find and understand this rock. The search for signs of ancient life on Mars. The rock, nicknamed Cherryava Falls, was one of the Grand Canyon's waterfalls, intrigued scientists for multiple reasons. While veins of calcium sulfate present clear evidence that water crucial for life once ran through the rock, the rover used its scanning habitable environments with Raman and luminescence for organics and chemicals, or Sherlock instrument, to identify organic carbon-based molecules within the rocks, and the irregular shaped leopard spots tested by the rover's Pixel instrument, short for Planetary Instrument for X-ray lithochemistry, detected iron and phosphate within the features, said Morgan Cable, a research scientist on the rover team, in a video shared by NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. We've never seen three things together on Mars before, Cable said. We have never seen these three things together on Mars before, Cable said. The team also spotted the potential presence of hematite between the wide bands of calcium sulfate in the rock. Hematite is one of the minerals responsible for Mars' signature red hue. The leopard spotting may have occurred when the chemical reaction to hematite turned the rock from red to white, which can release iron and phosphate and potentially cause the black rings to form. Such reactions can provide an energy source for microbes. Cherryava Falls is the most puzzling, complex, and potentially important rock yet investigated by Perseverance, said Ken Farley, Perseverance project scientist and professor of geochemistry at California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, in a statement. The team also discovered millimeter-sized crystals of olivine within the same rock. Olivine, previously detected in another part of the crater by Perseverance, is a mineral that forms from magma. Olivine present in Cherryava Falls rock could be related to rocks that formed at a different place in the valley, according to the team. The rover team is grappling with multitude of questions as they study the rock and try to determine what processes could have formed it. Cherryava Falls may have begun as a mixture of deposited mud and organic compounds that eventually cemented to become a rock. Later, water may have penetrated throughout the cracks in the rock, depositing minerals to create the calcium sulfate veins and leopard spots, but that's but it's also possible that the olivine and sulfate became part of the rock due to scorching hot temperatures on Mars, causing non-biological chemical reaction that created the leopard spots. That's also possible. We simply do not know. We only get our data from these rovers, from these little thingies we send to Mars. We can only make deductions throughout the observations we see. The best way to actually learn more about Mars is to go there. Unfortunately, traveling between planets is a little bit lengthier trip than traveling to your neighbor. So it's probably a little bit more pleasant. Well, not pleasant when you have to do all your needs for, emptying yourself in space. That's not really the most exciting things to do, honestly, and I can't imagine myself doing this. So that on the one hand, I'm very interested in space. On the other hand, I'm really not interested in doing such things. Maybe I'm gonna create one day. Maybe I'm gonna program myself a own artificial intelligence and just order to create a flying car for me that can go into space and beyond. But then I would have to learn to actually program it. Well, it's probably not that hard. Exploring Mars past. Since landing on Mars, Perseverance has crossed Jezero crater and explored an ancient river delta in search for microfossils of past life. The rover has been collecting samples along the way that could be returned to Earth by future missions. More recently, Perseverance have been exploring the northern edge of Neretva valleys, an ancient river that once delivered the water into Jezero crater more than 3 billion years ago, and that's where it spotted Cheyaba Falls. The rover landed within the crater to explore the ancient lake site in February 2021. Yeah, even though, there we go, Perseverance, still it's a quite primitive gadget we use to explore Mars, but hey, it's a progress, I guess. We at least can send such things to other planets. Hopefully we'll be able well, we should be able to send a flying thingy to one of the, I'm not sure if it's Saturn or Jupiter's moon. I'm not quite sure, but basically it's a thingy that should study one of the gas giant's moon, and it should be able to fly around. It should have its own source or to, move around perpetually, and it should give us more of an understanding how some of these moons that orbit the gas giants work. And maybe to search for potential life forms, obviously. Geologists on the rover team had been eager for Perseverance to study rocks that were either created or modified by water on Mars in the past, which is why Cheyaba Falls intrigued them. We have designed the route for Perseverance to ensure that it goes to areas with the potential for interesting scientific samples, said Nicola Fox, Associate Administrator for NASA's Science Mission Directorate. In a statement, this trip to the Neretva Falls riverbed paid off as we found something we've never seen before, which will give our scientists so much to study. Just got a notification, so I'm just gonna reply to it. No, spokojnie. How you doing? I'm just writing a comment or reply. Okay, reply written. There we go. Did notice like good. So I was just checking how the video was doing. I got a comment from somebody, so I replied. The world has no idea how hard it is to be true. I mean, indeed, there's, especially if you just want to live your life and yeah, and you have people like Netanyahu or the ultra-Orthodox Jews who simply kind of force you towards the war. Oh, you actually saw this, but what I was writing, well, it doesn't matter. Like, I've shown my channel analytics quite a bit, so no big deal there. Maybe it is actually a big deal, I'm not quite sure. Wait, I'm gonna actually check real quick. No, everything is in order. Good. Everything is in order. Thank God YouTube thought about this. The hard road to finding proof of life. In April, NASA said that the... sorry. I'm gonna take a sip of water. My throat is starting to run dry. Okay, should be a little bit better. In April, NASA said the original complex multi-mission design for the program intended to return Perseverance's sample to Earth, called Mars Sample Return, was no longer feasible in its current architecture due to budget cuts and a delayed return date. The agency has opened up a call to NASA centers and industry to develop a new plan that combines innovations with lessons learned from proven technology. It is the hope of NASA leadership to return samples to Earth by the 2030s with less complexity, costs, and risk than originally planned, and the agency is expecting to have answers for how best to return samples from Mars by the fall, said NASA Administration Bill Nelson during an April news conference. Meanwhile, Perseverance continues its crucial investigative journey on Mars and will begin climbing the rim of Jezero crater soon. This discovery has come at such a critical time while NASA is reconsidering the best way to get these samples back to Mars via Mars Sample Return, Horgan said. It shows just how important and unique our suite of samples is, and just how much we could learn about the beginnings of life on Earth-like planets. It also feels very fitting that Jezero threw us one final surprise before we leave the ancient river and lake sediments of the crater floor and start climbing the rim. As the Perseverance team says, returning these samples is the only way to know whether life ever existed on Mars. We have zapped the truck with lasers and x-rays and imaged it richer day and night from just about every angle imaginable. Farley said, scientifically, Perseverance has nothing more to give. To fully understand what really happened in that Martian river valley at Jezero crater billions of years ago, we'd want to bring that Cheava Falls sample back to Earth so it can be studied with the powerful instruments available in laboratories. Indeed. And this is the end of the article. So I'm not sure how they plan to get those samples back. We'll see about that. I'm probably gonna take a little bit of a closer look into how they intend to bring it back. Because as I said, I am interested in space exploration and such. So I'm gonna make the effort to actually learn a bit. But yeah, this is exciting news. If we find that there used to be life on Mars, it's going to be a huge discovery. And it's going to be a little bit of a question about it never came to be. So, like, was it the volcanic activity? Probably yes, because as I said, the crust of Mars simply does not move, which means those volcanoes were advancing a spot and they grew to a gargantuan sizes, which probably killed the atmosphere. But it's quite likely. But we don't know for sure and we can only learn it by observing. And as I said, I don't know, like, how to say. Like, we should probably figure out a way how to get that Martian crust to move. Because it will be hard to keep the land there fertile and simply keep the land, I don't want to say healthy, because, I mean, I'm not even sure how would I explain it. However, the crust that we currently see on Mars is billions of years old. To put it bluntly, it's quite worn out. We need to get a newer crust in. We simply need a younger crust to take its place and to produce more fertile land. I mean, obviously Martian land is not fertile. However, in the long term, if we were to actually terraform the planet, we're gonna need a fertile land, as well as we need to somehow figure out the way to control the gravity or increase the Martian gravity, because humans simply cannot sustain the Martian gravity for long, because it's simply too small. So, up next, we got Governor of Italy's Liguria region resigns after being arrested for alleged corruption. Rome AP, the governor of Italy's northern Liguria region, resigned on Friday after being held under house arrest since May as part of corruption investigation by local prosecutors. Giovanni Totti, a right-wing governor who is accused of providing political favors in exchange for election campaign funds, has denied any wrongdoing, yet he resigned. How interesting. In a handwritten letter published by Italian news website, Totti announced his decision to step down and call new elections within 3 months to allow citizens of Liguria to decide about their future. According to judge orders signing off on Totti's arrest, he was accused of doing favors for local figures in exchange for money to fund 4 local elections in 2021 and 22. Members of Totti's staff and Genoa business people, including some involved in the city's all-important board, were implicated in the investigation. The regional government of Liguria has defended Totti, saying in a statement he always acted in the exclusive interest of Liguria. Acting in the interests of Liguria does not mean you can be above the law. The council has named the vice president of the region to temporarily take over all administrative functions. They did not mention which party he was from, if he was like from Lega, Forza Italia, Fratelli d'Italia, or other right-wing parties, so we simply do not have information about him. However, I'm gonna Google it. Giovanni Totti political site. Cambiamo. Let's change. Oh, so it's his own party. Okay. So this was a very short article. Just wanted to include this as an interesting article. I guess, I mean, there's nothing much else to say about this. It's a slight reminder that people who call themselves right-wing, like, do not trust them when they say, like, they're gonna get rid of the corruption. Like, everybody can get corrupted. It does not matter what ideology he or she follows. It is nonsense if you think that people from the right or people of certain religion are not going to get corrupted. They will get corrupted. So yeah, we've reached the article that we were talking about previously, like some articles before. I'm gonna... Sorry, I yawned. I'm gonna take a quick look to see... Oh, it is in regards to the G20 meeting. And it's quite short article, so we're gonna skip this actually. Nasdaq is not 17,000. Nasdaq is higher. Or is it? Nasdaq 100 index is 19,000. So CNN is about 2,000 off. Or I don't know what they are. Yeah, they are 2,000 off. And because this is in USD and this is, I assume, also in USD. Yes, it's America, so. So anyways, let's move to the next article then. As we already talked about that thingy before, Elon Musk's Twitter under fire over harvesting users' data to train AI chatbot. How unsurprising. The platform suite EU regulator is looking into the matter, which may infringe about the blog's privacy rules. Maybe that's why Elon was recently talking about that EU had made him offer to censor free speech and stuff like this to divert attention from this. It is possible. Oh, the article usually reserved for subscribers. Twitter is facing scrutiny for its main European privacy regulator overcorrecting people's posts to train its artificial intelligence chatbot, a move that may infringe upon data protection rules. The social media platform came under direct fire today for harvesting users' data for its chatbot Grok without notifying them or asking for consent. Oh, they never ask for consent. They never do. Okay, that was a little bit better. But no, I mean, obviously, this is a major infringement on your privacy. Like, where's the problem? Like, most of the people will simply say yes. Or they'll say no. However, there'll be still a lot of people who simply say yes because they do not care. I think he's probably afraid that people would throw that, yeah, he's afraid that people would throw it and just say some random shit so his chatbot would turn out to be a complete mess. So he simply did not tell anyone about this. That's also possible because, I mean, hey, whenever he introduces something, people usually just meme it. I mean, people pretty much figured it out that he is pretty much a Republican fanboy. And a lot of people will simply throw him now whenever he wants to do anything. The company sued the European Privacy Authority said it had been engaging with Twitter for several months and as recently as Thursday. Therefore, we are surprised by today's development, said Graham Doyle, spokesperson for Irish Data Protection Commission. The Irish watchdog followed up on the matter with Twitter today, as is awaiting an answer and further engagement in early next week. Twitter added a setting for will take your data to train Grok without any notice and just defaulted to yes for everyone. This is bad. And I agree, said Kevin Schwawinski, the CEO of an AI company based in Switzerland. This reminds me of the first video I published about the Microsoft AI, where it would also be default set as enabled, where it would simply make screenshots of everything you do and save it to the computer, which is once again a security risk. Because there is a lot of scammers and a lot of people that get scammed on daily, a lot of people get hacked on daily. You may think this is not your problem, however, there will come a time when it would start influencing the revenue of the big companies. And if somebody like Microsoft were to go bankrupt or they would not be able to afford to make a proper updates, I know, I mean, Microsoft is not really the greatest company but to make updates to begin with in security, but hey, it is what it is, then probably chaos would occur. So for the sake of order, you should be pushing against any of this nonsense the Microsoft tries to put on you. And yes, for the time being, you will be able to turn it off for the time being. Most people will simply not be even able to look or find where to turn it off, or when they'll Google it, they'll simply find some scam because, I mean, hey, Google still allows a scam commercials, even today. That's why I use AdBlock, because I don't want to see those fucking scam ads. Sorry about that. It's unclear when the company rolled out this setting and started gathering users' polls. The social media platform currently appears to operate on the default presumption that its users are allowing the company to use data like their posts and interaction to train and fine-tune its grok tool. Why is he even training that grok tool on Twitter? Like, this is a toxic cesspool. Like, what good do you think it's going to do to your bot? Your bot is going to be extremely toxic. The company in November 2023 released Grok, a rebellious ChatGPT rival. The chatbot's first version was not trained on Twitter data, the company said. In March, it announced an upcoming updated chatbot, but it's unclear which training data was being used. Many social media platforms, from Meta and TikTok to Reddit, have been trying to leverage those of their users' data to build a new AI products, but the feat had been harder in EU, with privacy regulators enforcing the General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR). This is one of the good things that EU had produced. Your data are safer in EU to a certain extent in some cases than in places like the USA. Then in some other cases they are probably not as safe. I don't know. I don't want to delve into this iceberg. A law giving European citizens more rights over their personal data than those living elsewhere. Meta in June posted its plan to collect European posts and images on Facebook and Instagram to train its AI tools after a spate of GDPR complaints prompted renewed scrutiny from its lead Irish regulator. Google last year also had to delay the launch of its first generative AI following a request from the Irish Privacy Authority. Twitter is already being probed by the Irish Data Protection Commission in at least 5 cases, while the investigation started before Elon Musk bought and rebranded Twitter into X. They could potentially read multi-million euro fines or up to 4% of the company's annual global revenue. Twitter did not immediately reply for a request to comment. This is not a very good thing to do, and somehow I'm not surprised at all they did this. So much for your free speech for freedom, then you start, stalking people behind their backs. So basically, Elon Musk was stalking all of his Twitter users behind their backs, and he did not even bother to tell them. That's nice. And somehow it's not really surprising at all. So, yep. We actually made it to the final article. I'm not quite sure how good of a content it's going to be. We'll see. We're gonna be talking about JD Vance trying to clean up his Get Ready's comment. Basically, he was commenting that some people in Democratic Party do not have children, and it's a bad thing, and it's a anti-American thing that when you don't have children. Yeah, it's very stupid. So we're gonna watch it. Maybe I'm gonna make some comments, maybe not. We'll see. Maybe I'm gonna make this a video, maybe not. It depends just how much commentary I'm gonna be able to provide. Doubles downs on policies. Yeah, he was also proposing to tax more people who don't have children, which is simply dumb. A lot of people simply cannot afford to have a children because their living standard would drop. They would have to invest into their children, and they would have to live from wage to wage, which is not really nice or healthy way of living. So let's watch this video. And we'll see what we're gonna learn here.
Vance adding more fuel to the fire tonight, doubling down on his remarks about childless cat ladies.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats. I've got nothing against dogs. I've got one dog at home, and I love him, Megan. But look.
Of course, it was a sarcastic comment. Sure, bro. Sure. Yep, definitely sarcastic, huh? I could sense that sarcasm a miles away.
This is not, people are focusing so much on the sarcasm and not on the substance of what I actually said. And the substance of what I said, Megan, I'm sorry, it's true. It is true that we become anti-family. It is true that the left has become anti-child.
Joanna Coles joins.
The left has not become anti-child. People simply cannot afford having more children. And if your logic actually worked, then there would be much or many more Republicans than there are Democrats. And there isn't more Republicans than there's Democrats. So already this point is a complete bullshit. If the Democrats were so anti-family, then how come they don't have a majority? Oh yeah, they're gonna argue that they let in a millions upon millions of immigrants who vote for them. Yes, that's true to some extent. And then to some extent, didn't Trump in Florida with a big percentage of Latino voters? And from what I know, Latino voters, I mean, are probably the biggest majority that comes to America now, don't they? And the Republicans have quite a bit of Latino voters, if I remember correctly, or at least they do have in Florida. So already this is a very inaccurate claim.
The table. She's the chief content officer at the Daily Beast. Joanna, welcome. Childless cat ladies, and that cleanup, I mean, what did you make of it?
Where do we begin with J.D. Vance? I do think there is a moment now. I mean, the internet is so full of memes about him. Everybody is laughing at him. I actually wonder if he's now, if we can have the conversation, is he the Sarah Palin of this campaign? It's very difficult to get back from the levels of humour now being created about him. And this, the Democrats' response that he's weird, he is weird, and that only works if someone's weird. If I
Also, as other people had already pointed out, this is a great response from the Democrats to this. Yeah, call him weird. That is the best goddamn response in an elections you can give out. You can call him a psychopath, you can call him a Nazi, a lunatic. However, that is not going to attract you voters. That is not going to convince his voters for actually thinking about if they want to give it to J.D. Vance as a VP. Or Trump Vance more specifically, because you cannot vote for a VP. You vote for both of them, but hey, point still stands. Going in beard is such a good move. Because yes, what he said, and sometimes the things he does, even some commercials, are weird. And that is the correct way to address it. It is weird, and as long as you keep going this weird and do not go into some harsher terms like a psychopath or lunatic, you're probably gonna earn a lot of voters, a lot of swing voters. Because people are tired of the left and right calling themselves fascists, communists, Marxists, Nazis, fascists, more fascists, woke radicals, and whatever else. Average voter is tired of it. So when he hears that J.D. Vance is weird, he's actually going to listen to that. He's actually gonna think, maybe there's a point in it. However, if they were to call him a Nazi, he would be like, I mean, I've been kind of hearing this for about how many years? 8 years? Who knows how many years? The average voter is probably not going to care that much. So this was a very good move to actually call him weird. and not some sort of like Nazi or anything like that.
Say you're weird or you're weird. It doesn't, well, you're a little weird, but it doesn't really work. It works with him because he's a little strange. He's a little off. Yeah. And I think it's sort of fascinating. And his doubling down on it is crazy.
Of it all is really interesting because there was something impetuous about the Sarah Palin decision, right? That actually really hurt John McCain.
But not at first.
No, it actually energized his
Okay.
ticket at first.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Talk about sugar high. That was the sugar high.
Very brief.
But all it took was an interview or two, and then it all came crashing down.
Well, and it took Tina Fey too. Remember when she
That's
did
true,
the
yeah.
imitation of I Can See Russia from My House, and then suddenly the whole nation realized she was not ready to be vice president.
And the
it
vetting
crashed
process.
the campaign.
The vetting process didn't really happen too much with Sarah Palin's very infamous for that. I think we might see something a little bit with JD Vance that is similar right now.
I'm gonna check something. I'm gonna check something real quick. USA election, not presidential. 2008 it was, I believe. Oh yeah, his running mate was indeed a woman. I always forget about this, so... So they were talking about Sarah Palin and I was like, who the hell is that? And then they mentioned John McCain and I realized, oh, he ran for the president. I was like, he had a woman as a running mate, so... That was... So I guess she also said something strange or weird, which maybe hurt his chance. Because, I mean, yeah, Obama won bit ease. I mean, let's face it, like 10 million vote difference. And electoral vote, I mean, he also dominated him. Although I would probably expected this to be a little even higher, honestly. Probably somewhere closer to 150. So let's continue with the video.
Two pieces already in Politico and Axios at the very least that have the Republican knives are coming out already.
Yeah, let me play some of that. This is from two kind of strong voices on the right talking about the JD Vance pick.
Speaking of errors that Republicans are going to have to avoid. So, JD Vance is the vice presidential nominee for President Trump. Now, if you had a time machine, if you go back 2 weeks, would he have picked JD Vance again? I doubt it.
The attacks on her personally, on whatever her past personally may have been, or calling her a childless lady, none of those are going to work, and they're going to make women second guess their support for what they may have felt for Donald Trump. Bad move.
Matt, I interrupted you, but...
JD Vance ran worse in Ohio than any Republican by a lot.
Yeah.
If you think about it, he's been palling around with a kind of neo-reactionary Peter Thielite rights. The other person who...
Yep, he performed bad, but he only won because he was endorsed by Trump, by the way. Like, he was nowhere near close to actually being the candidate for the final vote, but Trump endorsed him, so he got to the finals and was elected, even though it wasn't a good victory for a Ohio senator. And as I said before, yeah, he is a bad choice. He's a bad pick. Like, absolutely. Like, his only positive is his age. And the comments that are surging about him, the comments he made, especially about women. They are only going to prop up more women to actually vote for Harris. So already, like, JD Vance is kind of, he's kind of causing Donald to burn a little bit. So, I mean, Donald is going to have to try now even more to actually get to his win, despite actually getting shot. Like, honestly, a lot of people thought, like, this is a GG well played. Then all he had to do was to pick somebody who could get more connected with the American people. there's a lot of immigrants or migrants, so you may pick somebody like Vivek. Obviously, he would probably not fare that well with the hardcore Republican voters. However, the hardcore Republican voters will vote for Trump. Trump is on that little paper, so they will vote for him. Vivek would attract some new people, that's for sure. Or Nikki Haley, that would be probably even better. Once again, Trump did not even bother to debate her. Probably does not like her. Maybe maybe they probably don't like each other. However, I think Nikki Haley would manage to work with Trump. I think she would handle to work with Trump because, hey, like she probably also wants Republican to win, and she would be able to connect with women much better than JD Vance currently is, that's for sure. Well, maybe she would have her own Sarah Palin moment or whatever. I'm not sure what Sarah Palin has said that they were mentioning it. Like I said, I'm not that much versed in presidential election before 2012. Like, I'm only versed in 2016 election, 2020, and 2024. Anything other for me is antique, is archaic. Let's continue.
Who did that and received a ton of money, like 8 figures. The other person who did that the last senatorial go-round was Blake Masters in Arizona.
Who,
Blake
by the way,
Masters,
defended the childless cat lady's
of course he did,
comment,
because
just
Blake
for the
Masters is a weirdo. Even weirder than I am. If you can't win a Republican Senate seat in Arizona, you're doing something wrong. There is this little world of 2 online kind of edgelordy, we're against the Enlightenment, har type of people that Peter Thiel and others have been palling around with for a long time, Curtis Yarvin and so on. J.D. Vance is kind of new to that world. He's been kind of playing around, and they love to edgelord and go to the edge. There is so much out there that he has said that is nonsense that he's going to have to wear. That's a lot worse than cat ladies, and it's a lot worse than some of the things that people are making up about him.
But I think I can sort of put a finer point on weird, if I may. He's sort of doing like a Duolingo version of what he thinks Republicans want to hear, and it sounds lost in translation. Like, the child...
Indeed, he does says what hardline Republicans want to hear, and that's the problem. He's saying what the hardline Republicans want. However, the general populace, the undecided voters, the Democrats, don't want this at all, because hardline Republicans are influenced by religion, by Christianity, and that is not good. Religion and politics should never interfere, never. People will argue, oh no, they're only for the, traditional family and stuff like that. Do not let them fool you. No, they are not. They are for something more than that. They are for something more than that, and I've read that in Project 2025. Yeah, one of the reasons why America is in such struggle is because people have lost faith in God. Does this sound to you like the religion is not influencing? For God's sake, religion has zero influence on how the state works, or should have. My country is one of the most atheistic countries on the planet Earth. And our economy and our nation is doing very well. Well, not really anymore after COVID. Let's just say our deficits are a little bit high. Yep. Maybe it's gonna change, maybe not. However, well, if the populists are gonna take over, then it's going to be interesting. And it's going to be interesting whether the populists will actually keep, the deficit low, or they're gonna try to keep it low, or if they're gonna go for bazooka, spend more, to make the population who voted for them happier, which is the likely case, but who knows.
Childless thing would still be weird, but it would work if there was an existing sort of idea of this in conservative circles. An idea that people should have more kids, and if you don't have kids, you're evil and you don't get a voice. That's actually
And
not
also
a thing.
that you should be penalized
You should be
by
punished.
the tax code.
That's
for
not real. I
having
mean, there's
children.
plenty of scholarship around declining population and declining birth rates. That's not really what he's talking about. He's talking about punishing people who don't currently have kids. And that's
Yep.
that doesn't exist inside conservative orthodoxy. So he's not hitting on something that voters are already thinking. It just sounds off, like he's almost saying the thing that would be red meat, but he's not. And so it sounds bizarre and we don't even know who it's appealing to.
But I mean, it's also like it's not just weird, but
It's appealing to the Christians, the Christian radicals, who would love to force your women to have multiple children so that their economy, their magnanimous, their bombastic plans, their bombastic proposals would actually work. And that is the only way how it would work, by forcing women to have more children. And by forcing, I mean actually forcing. Push it as far as actually take away their liberties and put that in some sort of breeding camps. Like, I would not be surprised at all, because they are quite anti-immigration. They don't want illegal migration, which is, I can sort of get behind that. However, if people run away from war, like, you simply have to help them. Like we help the Ukrainians. Like, can you imagine if we simply closed the borders for millions of Ukrainians? Like, there would be millions of them dying because of sudden population bursts near these borders. Like, that would be really, really bad and really messy. Like, when somebody is running from the war and it's genuine, like, you should help him. If somebody has nefarious reasons, such people obviously come in, like, let's not beat around the bush. Well, you identify the problem and you deport it, or you put it into prison for like 40 years. There you go.
But it also doesn't have electricity. I mean, the thing about Donald Trump is he's kind of mean, but he's electric, right? And so when he's on television, you're compelled
He's a big personality.
to get to
Very
follow him
Kind
for a
of
minute.
funny, and
Yeah.
he's always touching on something a little bit true. That that's the Trump secret sauce.
And so
basically.
watching him at the Republican convention, I was just sitting there the entire time in my kitchen when I was watching this thing. It's like, this is JD boring. I mean, it's just so not fun. And then they started showing Donald Trump's face. And Donald Trump didn't look like a boss who was taking pleasure in his new employee. He didn't look like a father who was, pleased with his child. He looked like, oh, what did I do?
Maybe even
This
mad
guy
at his
didn't get it.
favorite child.
Because Trump he's a producer. And I think he realized this was not good television, and he had to live with this guy for 3 more months.
Well, and I think the fact that Jennifer Aniston came out and put on her Instagram that, she very much hoped that JD...
Yep, that's also a thing that Jennifer Aniston simply came out and pointed this out, like, this is what this guy said. And I saw Trump face, like, he was also not very happy about his pick. I mean, like, Donald can read the mood in the room very well, like, he can read it very well, and he did not look happy at all with his pick. And from what I heard, that this pick was handed to him by his son, Donald Jr., Trump Jr. So, I mean, even I saw that Trump was really not happy, and it was really visible on his face that he probably knew that this will probably bite him in the ass sometime later. However, there's really nothing he can do now, unless he would find a miraculous way to get this guy out of his VP and put there somebody that he actually wants. It's a bit sad that somebody else picked him the VP, but that's how it works. Like, people choose you your vice president, rich people choose your presidents. Like, I mean, even the presidents, they don't have much freedom now, do they? I wonder if Kamala will be able to pick her own VP or if the party is going to select her a VP. We'll see. I mean, I'm not sure who has a better read on a good vice presidential nominee, if it's the party or if it's Kamala Harris. So, I mean, who knows? However, I mean, in Trump's case, this was a very big blunder. In Kamala's case, well, it could be better. Who knows? But keep in mind that the Democratic Party has been very delusional and has been dosing a lot of copium, especially in the Biden presidency. And the fact that they even let Biden to go into the primaries to begin with. But we'll see how it develops. Let's continue watching.
Vance never had a female child who couldn't have babies because he was trying to withdraw IVF too, meant that this story in particular cut through the sort of political punditry into the bigger population. And for people who don't care about politics until the week before the election, Jennifer actually saying something hugely influential. She has 50 million followers on Instagram. And we actually, at The Beast, we've got a childless cat lady power list because there are so many women
At the top of that list is Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, Joyce Carol Oates, who's got many more readers and has written many more books than J.D. Vance. Martha Stewart has a daughter, but she's got an honorary mention. Karl Lagerfeld.
Fact check the cats.
We fact checked the cat. We've even got the breed of each cat. But he's strangely unable to read the tone because young people now also, there was just new research that came out from the Pew Center this week, actually that young people don't want to have kids
Almost
right
50%.
now.
Yes, that's also case. However, I'm gonna mention something else about the IFV. Yes, like the Republicans or the hardcore of the Republicans, they simply do not want women to have children. They also want them to have husbands. Like, they don't want single mothers. And like, finding yourself an ideal partner, it's not fucking easy. It's very hard. A lot of women that turns out to be very miserable and do not really like the way they choose their partner, because either they pick their partner and have a child with him in their early 20s when they were not developed enough, when they were running that love sentiment, and it turns bad for them. Or in some other case, they simply cannot find an ideal partner because pretty much everybody has some sort of a red flag. And that's the problem. Everybody has a red flag. Like, there's no really ideal partner. So, I mean, you kind of have to go for a compromise. However, how can you be sure you find yourself a good compromise and not a compromise that is going to turn out as a violent husband in some years afterwards? Or a weak husband? Or a husband that is going to exploit you? Or maybe your child? And obviously, even it is fought from women as well, obviously. I mean, a lot of women are definitely having a little bit of higher standard. And I don't mean by, personality-wise. I mean, like, they want their husband to earn, like, 1 million per month. That's a hyperbole, just in case. They want him to have mansions, Bugattis, obviously hyperbole. They want him to be 6 foot 5 feet tall, or however your American measures works. That was a tiny bit of a hyperbole, and this adds to quite a bit of an unrealistic standards. Like, personality should be the first thing you should look forward. Like, you should look towards a partner you have some sort of a synergy with. Obviously, then you spend time together, you talk and talk, on and off. Sometimes you talk much more often. And this process can take up to a year or two. Like, you have to know how this person who you potentially consider to be your partner actually works or actually behaves when he's put into a pressure situation and under a stressful situation to learn if he has any violent tendencies or anything like this. Because I mean, hey, you would be spending the rest of your life with that person unless you are a cheater person, which in that case you have no sympathy from me. And someone is lowering his or her moan here. You may hear that, that's not ideal. I'm gonna mute my microphone, but I'm gonna restart this video so you don't hear it too much. So we're gonna keep watching this. Oh yeah, and the children, yeah, I forgot about the children almost. The children do not want children because they simply cannot afford it. Like the children cannot, the young cannot even afford their own housing. The housing prices went through the roof. That is one of the reasons why they don't want children. They cannot even afford they cannot even afford themselves a good housing. Why would they be starting a family? They want their family to have a good life, not to live from wage to wage. Is this the life you want for your child? Obviously not. Now we're gonna keep watching.
Right.
Almost 50%.
Surprisingly
But this is what
high.
he's mad about. That's exactly what he's mad about.
Right, but he was chosen to just hang around the Great Lakes. And that blue wall that we talked about earlier, he's supposed to be in Pennsylvania. He's supposed to be in Wisconsin. He's supposed to be in Michigan. So that is what they chose J.D. Vance to do, and make sure that wall did not fall.
So look, the talk of replacing him, I think, is a little fanciful, but
Like replacing
a
presidential nominee?
Listen, Business Insider did an entire story about Rule 9, which is how the Republicans see it.
I mean, Mike, do you think that, first of all, it wasn't a mistake, and should Republicans roll the dice and try again?
Look, at the end of the day, I don't think the vice presidential pick.
They can try again. I did not know about it. I thought when you nominate your VP pick, then you cannot change it. That would be interesting if they actually change it, and it would be probably a better choice, even though they would seem weaker in the first few days after actually changing the nominees. However, if they would pick somebody strong, then whoever that pick is would make it up. Like that pick would make it up, and it could theoretically win them the election. So I mean, yeah, if they can change the nominee, maybe it's not too late. However, it should come from J.D. Vance, or I don't know. They can do a false flag scandal, something like that, to get them off. However, at this point, J.D. Vance is not a beneficial for Republicans, to be completely honest.
Actually matters. I really
Unless it's
don't.
J.D. Vance, and then I think it actually does.
It mattered when it was Sarah
I'm
Palin.
not sure that it.
I think it
I
matters.
don't think that John McCain lost the race because of Sarah Palin.
Great.
I think the last time it maybe mattered was 1960 with Johnson and swaying Texas to Kennedy. So this is great for late night television. This is great for our conversations. But at the end of the day, I don't know that it matters. It probably is upsetting to President Trump if he feels like, as you put it, a producer made a bad decision, but it's not going to affect the outcome of the election.
Harris, though. I mean, it seems like it's.
But here's how the Sarah Palin choice mattered. It mattered because it was a window into John McCain's decision making.
Yes.
And that he was running on country first, and here he did not put the country first. He put politics first. And so here's Donald Trump, who we're ultimately electing somebody with some judgment. And the person he chose was a weird person who thinks the rest of us who aren't having kids at 23
Palin
years
is
old
the exception that
are doing
proves.
something more.
But it also matters because Donald Trump is 78 and he looked, we saw that he was fragile, obviously, after being shot at. And he may well have post-traumatic stress syndrome, which actually 90% of people who've been shot at do. So not surprising, but he's 78 years old. It's possible that the vice president becomes president. It's not fanciful to think
And
that.
it's also just this, again, I know conservative voters in these states that he is meant to speak to.
Right.
And they're going to church and Bible study, and they're praying for their friends who can't have kids or in their third round of IVF or are desperate to adopt. This is not resonating. And the fact that he is having to explain it and is defending it instead of just backing away from it to end this news cycle,
Let's talk
I
about
think
that.
shows that they are
That's-
very keenly unaware of how it's landing inside their own house.
That's exactly. I mean, look, this is something he said how many years ago?
2021.
Okay.
It's becoming increasingly more loud. I cannot do anything about this, unfortunately, but I'll try to do my best. So it's also because he probably was never embroiled in any controversy, and he simply does not know how to handle this controversy. Like, he was in army for some time, I don't know for how long. Then he went to the law school where he met his wife now. He did not learn how to handle such scandals. He was taught how to be a lawyer, most likely. So he does not know when to shut up and when to just backtrack from some of his things he said, or just said, alright, that was stupid, I view it differently now, it's been 2 years, I have a different views, there we go. However, when you start explaining it, then you create problem. Then you create a problem for the Republicans and for yourself as well. Because that message he said that does not resonate with many voters. And that's a problem. Like, he should have been able to actually just backpedal, simply say, I view it differently now. There you go. And we will not come back to this anymore. Maybe the Democrats will try to pull this card, but hey, you will simply always say the same bland answer, period. However, the way he handled this is not really ideal.
So, before he was elected, before he was
He said
elected,
it today
the United-
again.
But he's just doubled down
Exactly.
Said it again.
Exactly. So this is where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
He said this before he was elected to the United States Senate, but now he's doubling down. At some point in public life, you make mistakes. You
Right.
say something wrong. And then how do you deal with that going forward?
Not
To
if
me,
you're Trump's running.
well,
Exactly.
that's
Do that.
that.
You're
I
Donald
think you
Trump's
can.
running mate.
I actually do think that you can, but this is an area in which he really needs to figure out what his voice is and how he's going to do it. But the real mistake for me was how they're handling it now, not the fact that he was trying to be funny in a weird way
To Tucker Carlson,
to
right?
Tucker Carlson
Well, even
years
Tucker
ago.
Carlson, Tucker Carlson looked absolutely gobsmacked that he was saying this too. It wasn't like Tucker was leaning in, which he sometimes
look,
does.
there's a
He
whole
looked
cadre on the
bewildered.
right that they believe that the population replacement is the most important thing, and all the rest of us here on planet Earth, as to your point, know plenty of people who have kids and know that. But by the grace of God, they may not have had children, and don't judge people for not having kids. Like, that's just not a thing you do in 2024.
Well,
But wait a minute, there's a-
20% of women don't have children, and 11% of women have tremendous difficulties having children. So it's unclear who he's trying to speak to here.
And God forbid we talk about the men, maybe like me, who waited into their 40s to have children, right? And so nobody worries about, in this conversation, about the fact that people like George Washington didn't have any biological children of his own. He's not attacking him for someone who shouldn't have a say in American life. And I think that's the part that he doesn't get, that people are making all kinds of choices in their lives that he's not actually representing when he's speaking up in public.
Anthony Scaramucci was here last
Last few things I'm gonna say, because you probably hear the background noises. Yep, that's a good point that, George Washington also did not have any biological children. That's kind of a good point when these people often talk about George Washington, about the founding fathers, and then you have George who simply did not want any children. So people make decisions. If they don't want to have children, it's their decision. You should respect that. And the way the Republican or the hardcore Republican Party would handle this thing, and I worry about it a lot for the sake of the American women, is that they would force American women. And let's be real, probably more specifically white women, to force them to have children. And if they would not obey, well, they would probably take away their rights and force them to live in some sort of a breeding houses. That's also possible. Like, I read some of that Project 2025 stuff. They really want to put an end to the migration. They want to reduce the migration quite a bit. They are not just saying strong borders. Honestly, if they could choose, they would probably. Let's face it. I mean, most of the people who come to the US probably are gonna vote for the Democrats, or a good portion, and the Republicans want the people who come into the US to vote for the Republicans. Obviously, that's how it works. That's how the two-party system works. However, they know that people like black people, Latinos, even a little bit Asians, simply vote more for the Democrats. And how do you change that? Oh yeah, you're gonna force white women to have more children. Realistically, it's not going to help, because those children will remember that they are a result of a forced impregnation, most likely, unless the Republicans indoctrinate them. Who knows? Like, we live in a very complicated era at the moment, and we do not know how it's going to turn out. And there's so many voices in my background, I fucking hate it. So yeah, this is everything I wanted to talk about, and yeah, this was the final article. So I hope you enjoyed, and have a good day. I'm gonna keep the stream running for another minute, because the Twitch sometimes cuts out the things I say at the end. So yeah, just as a precaution. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.